All right, I've hit play. Thanks for checking out the VOD. And what just popped up on Twitch? That's not applicable to me, I don't think. Get rewards by purchasing or gifting subscriptions. They can't gift subscriptions. I gave up my affiliate. Anyway, thanks for watching the VOD. Those of you that watched the last VOD involving the zone design, I've got a couple comments that were left that I'll bring into tonight's session, and tonight we'll do it again. Just wait for people to show up, and then we'll hop back into the zone that we're working on. If you didn't watch the last VOD, I think it's the second half of the VOD. You can scrub through and find it. You will see that we started brainstorming and working on a zone together. Just kind of like walk through the process a little bit. So, yeah, it's fun so far. So decided to do it again. Hey, Nicodemus Perez, what's up? Let's see if my coffee's cooled down enough to just the right temperature. How you guys doing? Hey, Thadvik. Tonight will be the only stream this week. I'll try to get it uploaded tomorrow. So as soon as we're done here tonight, hop in bed, and then tomorrow I'll try to get this VOD up on YouTube. But I will be gone basically Thursday morning through Sunday afternoon. There's a massive airsoft event here in Germany called Dark Emergency. It's like 3-4 plus thousand people. Hey Swanee, what's going on? Tsunami-san. So very curious. We both really enjoyed the last event at this location, but it was only like 600 or 700 people. So we'll see. I mean that's a lot of people. We'll see what it feels like. Should definitely be more opportunity for BB shooting. Well below average. Thanks for lurking. What's up, Keith? Do you do sugar and milk and cream in your coffee, or just straight coffee? I typically do a little bit of coffee with my sugar and cream. Gonna wear your leather and red heart underwear. I don't know if they'll get the reference, and then I'll just get shot in my legs and ass a punch. So again, we've got the zone that we're working on all ready to go. And we'll just wait for people to get in. I haven't touched it. I haven't looked at it. I've thought about it, but I haven't touched it. I haven't looked at it. And so we'll get back into it together. There's no cheating. There's no working ahead on my end. You have to let me know how the music levels sound. Hey, Chan Solo. What's up, John Dargith? Quick sauna. It's a little low. Yeah, I'll turn it up for the next song. When the next song starts, we'll see what it sounds like. Hey, Cod. Lich. Yeah, the music's low. Here, let me find a track that's a little more consistent. Hey, Pack Attack 74, what's going on? What's up, Wallabus, Marcy, Darius? Viper, Propheta Pine, Propheta Prime. Or is it Propheta Prime? How's my weekend? Pretty cool. Pretty chill. How was yours? A lot of garden time this weekend, and I had one of my former coworkers, a buddy of mine, that I met in Hamburg when I was working there, and then he's a German guy, and he moved to Canada, and now he's a German and Canadian citizen. He was back from Canada. He's spending some time here in Germany, and he swung by. We hung out on Saturday and Sunday, I think. So that was good. Always interesting to spend time with a friend, especially someone that's industry person who's seeing it at some other companies and able to speak to what he's seeing there. Quicksana said back-to-back kids' birthday parties, now paying the price. Sick this week. Oh man, little outbreak monkeys. Thanks for clarifying that, Profeta. Hey, quick. Little Franken beans. I'm not resizing rocks this session, COD. But thank you. Yeah, we'll be doing more zone design today, Dagaroni. Yeah, the smugglers were put in. There's so much stuff in here. The smugglers were put in, and it's just like it's very placeholder. It's all the exact same smuggler. So got some new smugglers that are going to be working their way into the ranks here. So should make it a little bit more interesting for you. This track you're listening to right now, if you didn't hear it last stream and you haven't heard it on YouTube yet, this is the new track from Robert. I don't know how well you can hear it, to be honest. Fairly quiet. Oops. It's still low? Okay. Gonna need some beach chairs in this zone. Oh, what if you could bring your own beach chair? Wouldn't that be good? That'd be a good crafting item. Hey Drew, what's going on? Does the beach chair up your meditation skill? You mean increase the skill itself or increase the cap for the skill? What are you talking about? Beach chair should add +5 to meditation so you can meditate better while you're relaxing. But would that go over the cap? Sorry about whatever noise it's probably making right there. Would love little fun summon items like that in the mix. You just gotta petition, Nick for them. Gotta hit him up when you see him in you see him in Discord. What zone am I in right now? I am working in Fallen Pass. Swanee, must you be a child? Don't answer that. Vulorg, how's it going? Can you see a high-level view of the zone layout? There you go. Hey, Zifton. Wallabies, did I already say hi to you? Okay. Lich, there's already a map published for it. It's not like I haven't, I mean, anybody can go through the old VODs of this zone. There's so many VODs of this zone. If there's not a map of this already, it's just because no one's bothered. Speaking of maps, are we at the map point yet? Should we start working on the map yet? Or do we give people a little bit more time? I mean, it's only 8:07 now. Let's wait until like 8. Let's wait till like 8:20 or 8:30 my time, and then we'll Hey, Sarenth. Amnesiac. Qualanos, hello. You guys will just need to let me know. You'll have to let me know what the music levels are looking like. And I'll just keep working. I'll keep working on my other monitor a little bit, just doing some data work while we get to the point where we're ready to go back to Scarwood and work on Scarwood a little bit. So those of you that just came in, the last stream we started designing a zone from scratch with the stream. It's funny, I saw a video earlier that was on the topic of Bungie and some of the issues with the art that the Marathon guys have appropriated, I guess. And so I'm like, just you watch, somebody's gonna come up in 2 years and be like, I was part of the stream that worked on the most popular zone in the game. Pay me. You guys come at us. We'll sick our lawyer on you. I said orcs in Twitch chat. I'm a dev. Golden Pineapple, exactly. Without me, they would have never considered putting orcs in the game. Yeah, Ollie and Nick, give me a call. Sean? Yeah, well, sounds like you're in quite a pickle. If you need me, I'll be in my cabin. Game looks a lot like a certain classic MMO. This game looks like a couple classic MMOs. I mean, I guess you never know. You never know. I guess they could try that, but it would wind up being a conversation of we look like, you know, we've taken a similar style in that we are low poly. We've got painted textures. They're not photo ref. Low poly. I mean, we look like games from an era. Yeah, no, I know Zifton. I'm going along with it. What's up, Chango? Artificial Guy, it is possible to play the game now during open playtest. You can make a character right now, so you can register and make an account. You can make a character or more than one. You can find a secret that will let you run around with the character, but you won't actually be in game. And then when we have an open playtest, then you can hop in with that character. Virtual Freedom said there's a debate on Discord whether or not you level slower in this game than EQ and whether this is close to EQ2 or EQ. What do you think? You mean leveling speed? Hey, you shoes. It's fluctuated. Sometimes if people are like, hey, it feels like EQ, sometimes it's like P99, sometimes. And it's going to keep fluctuating a little bit as we're playing with formulas and playing with content density and playing with experience and experience bonuses and all of that stuff. So it'll fluctuate, but I mean, the intent is for it to, you know, it's not meant to like just be a horrible, horrible slog, but it's meant, you know, to be something where you enjoy the, you have time to enjoy the journey. Excuse me. Can you camp back to character select from the campfire? Yeah, I thought so. I thought, isn't that just the... Yeah, there you go. Cat asked, the biggest difference is that the Geo still looks more realistic and not cartoony or bulgy. I think that's one of the things, right? Like we went for a more, we've been calling it fantastical realism. And so, you know, it's just like trying to keep the proportions. They're still a little exaggerated, right? Things are a bit big here and there. There's, you know, some stuff going on, but it's meant to kind of lean more towards the realism of a fantasy painting from the era. You know, like one of the big four, Elmore, Caldwell, Parkinson, Easley. So it's based on like that. It's based on the idea that it's meant to be kind of like just like an old fantasy painting. So naturally there's going to be some stylization and some like fantastical proportions and this and that. But it's, you know, it's not going the route of the more modern like WoW stylization, right? Like if you could just sue somebody for your product kind of looks like ours based off the fact that you've got blocky geo or whatever. I mean, how many thousands of games at this point? Like if you open an app store or you get on Steam, like how many more games do we need that basically look like WoW? So I don't know. That won't be it. Hey, Simon. Redorana says, so I started listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl audiobook thanks to you, and I must say it's a thing and I like it. I love that you like it. You guys introduced me to it and I've introduced more of you to it, so that's cool. John said horrible slog sounds like a good name for a gelatinous cube mob. Yeah, don't let us forget it. Get out of a meeting and I'm welcome with this. Something fun to watch in the office. Hey, Tupac. People have tried, but WoW also stole a lot of their stuff from Games Workshop. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I love going back through old Games Workshop books and looking at like basically, and then it was funny because then when Warhammer came out, they're like, oh, they stole their style from WoW. Poor guys. What are you working on at the moment? I'm just updating a few spawns. I may actually add a couple spawns as well. While I'm waiting, I'm running out the clock until 8, like let's say 8:30, and then we're going to go back to working on the zone that we started last stream. So our smuggler is getting more hard or fun. Hopefully both, but you know, we'll see. You got to realize like all the smugglers in here are the exact same placeholder mob. So that's probably not as intended. Is that too loud? Didn't the first WoW devs openly admit they got inspiration ideas from EverQuest mods in UO? Yeah, John's just messing with you. Those guys were just right up the street from us back when I was on EQ, and they were huge EverQuest nerds. I think, you know, they were probably bigger EverQuest nerds than like the EverQuest 2 team, and it kind of shows. Yep. Tiggle and Fuhrer, and then my buddy Steve eventually went up there and worked for him, and then even more of our guys. But Steve worked on Vanguard first, and then he went up and worked with those guys for like 15 years. No, it's not meant to really be a burn on the EQ2 guys. It's just they obviously EQ2 is just a very different game than EverQuest, right? And WoW for that matter. So I enjoyed playing EQ2 at the time. I felt WoW was more fun. Ran better, was more fun. But I think if WoW had camping and just random rares and shit to, you know, find in different places and stuff like that, I probably would have stuck even harder. But I mean, I played through Wrath pretty consistently with a little Sony Online guild. It was by no means, you know, the most diehard person, but played very regularly. And we also played EQ2 for a while, but honestly, most folks just went over to WoW. I remember hearing that EQ2 team was kind of redirected to chase WoW instead of their original vision. I didn't see that. I didn't see that necessarily. Not to say that it's wrong. I mean, and it's not really reflected in with what they have. Now, invariably there are features that were probably added. You know, because Smed was pretty good about being like, Game X has this, please put it in your game. Don't say that game's name anymore, it still hurts. Vanguard, why? Because you're sad that it's gone? You know there's a Vanguard emulator out there. Virtual Freedom. I don't know that that'll be a popular take here. A lot of folks like Vanguard. You actually went so far up the chain to get a refund that you have an email from Smedley offering you a game of your choice. You still have that email? Do you still have it digitally or did you print it out? Sorry, I'm just reading something really quickly. Hey, Justin Beard, what's going on? All right, 8:25. Give it a few more minutes, and then we'll work on the zone. M streams are the equivalent of listening to Inya while I work. I would have never guessed that one, Inya. "15-year-old me's best female friend would be proud of that reference." Angelica, if you are out there, I hope you are well. Angelica from Rugrats? No, that was not her. It is Fallen Pass. Permission to post a link to the image of the email? Yeah, I think that's fine. I can't imagine why that wouldn't be fine. It looks like they said, unfortunately, I cannot provide you a monetary refund due to the fact that you did not directly purchase it through the station.com store. I'm willing to provide you any other digital download game listed on our www.station.com website. Man, it's been a while since I said that. Let me know what you're interested in, and I'll tell you exactly what I can provide you. If you have any more questions, please let me know. But that's not SMED, buddy. That is a very polite and helpful customer service representative. Angelica last name wasn't Green? Nah. Nah, I'm pretty certain that wasn't it. I think. Tiny little Italian goth girl. Very tiny, very goth. Smed was the next step after. So inside these volumes, is it one mob, or do you have the ability to say X will spawn? You have the ability to say X will spawn, right? So that's the count right here. How are the world population tools holding up? I had a dream I came back and was back to work, missing y'all. Hey, miss you too. They're holding up. I mean, honestly, we've been using them in kind of a, you know, haven't been doing anything crazy or whatever. There's some bugs to be fixed. You know, if you in your dream, if you could. There are a couple bugs to fix, so if you can knock those out while you're sleeping, but nothing that's preventing us from getting stuff done. Nothing bad. See you, Sarenth. All right, it is 8:31. I think it is time for us to... I think it is time for us to talk about the zone. If you guys want to do that, if you want to get back in it. Nick, he's a bad mother. Watch your mouth. Time for chat to earn its keep. Yeah, you guys put on your imagination suits. Hold on one second, I want to read something. Hold on one second, I'll respond to something. Still typing, 1 second. All right. So, I wonder how many times I'm going to snag this freaking cord tonight and yank this out of my ear. Let's count it. So, first off, hello, Dark Inside. I do have a very clicky keyboard, and I used to have a noise gate that would keep you guys from having to hear it, but the noise gate was cutting off a lot of my words, and it gave me like a weird lisp. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I didn't like it, so I changed the noise gate. I might still have the lisp, I don't know. But yeah, that's that. Yeah. I'm glad that you like the sound, Dark Inside. Alright, so we had 2 comments on the last VOD that I'll read here because I don't know if you guys saw it, and it's worth, if people were willing to comment, then we should be willing to check it out. So GLR said, add a set of unique fish and rare fish to the lake. Also, don't make it so busy. A quiet, empty, forested zone would make it feel like wilderness rather than a point of interest fest. And I think that is actually a worthwhile comment. GLR, thank you for making the comment. I agree. And that's something that we'll look at today as part of our exercises. We've got a ton of ideas, but let's look at how we distribute those ideas in the zone, and then maybe let's save some of those ideas. Let's winnow them down to what we think are maybe the most important ideas, or the most relevant to this zone or whatever. So thank you, GLR. Quixana, or Just Quixa, says, oh man, so bummed I missed out on the community zone brainstorm part of this stream. That's what you get for leaving early. If you left early. Obviously just make the zone bigger, right guys? Avery, do you know our team? Alright, so fun and cool that you tried this with everyone. Kept thinking of things that are already added to the list. Trying to think of something new to add to the ideas. Would there be any lesser known or secret underground connections to the Deep Elf City from here? Maybe from a hidden part of the dungeon, under the lake. Too far from the east zone line, or maybe an older abandoned mining section of the Deep Elves carving into the surrounding lands over the ages, but maybe this is out of scope for the available time and resources. All good points, good ideas, and a good consideration. A good check. Well, happy anniversary. It was your anniversary, that's why you had to bounce. I think that is it. I mean, honestly, don't let me guilt you. You guys, that's what the VODs are for. You don't have to stick around in here. The fact that people sit in here at all is amazing to me. But maybe this is out of scope for the available team, time, and resources. Alternatively, how about some interesting higher risk versus reward fishing at the lake? I love it. We put a lake in, everybody's thinking fishing. I think that's a good thing. I've determined, I don't know, for whatever reason, I forgot that my Switch could actually be taken off of the TV console and carried up into bed with me. So I've got my Switch up there. I've been playing a lot of Stardew Valley again in bed. And it's funny, like, it got me thinking about fishing. And then some people had reported some bugs and friends and family with like the fishing volumes and stuff. But I think it's the system, not the volumes. Because I ran into this when I was testing all the volumes, because there was a shitload of volumes in there. But we do need to get more fish in and the fish variety, and then start using the conditions. And eventually it would be nice to get that system expanded out to be using like the different baits and rods and stuff like that. But if you like Stardew Valley, check out Fantasy Life. I mean, there are a few of them, right? They're different sort of variations on the theme. I really love Stardew Valley. But I'll keep it in mind, because if I can get it on the Switch, once I get sort of burned out on Stardew Valley again, I'll get some more games on it. Interesting. I remember there was a brief window of time where Nick and I were playing Core Keeper. And I remember Jasmine was like out of town or something one evening. And I played a ton of Core Keeper and watched the Bob Newhart show. And talk about one of the coziest, like, most chill, kind of oddly nostalgic for a life I never had kind of evenings. That was it. All right, so let's get back into Scarwood. So we talked about what would Scarwood be if we were able to, through some miracle of resources and planning genius or whatever, put a traversal-focused, bigger zone between Keeper's Bite and Fields of the Lost. Keeper's Bite and Evershade Weald set the tone for Scarwood in terms of the overall like aesthetic and assets that we're using. So think, bigger trees and green and, the rock textures, the grass textures, the mud, the trees, the eventually bushes and stuff like that. That stuff's going to carry over into Scarwood, and it is going to transition as we go to the east towards Fields of the Lost. It's going to transition into a new theme that's going to be, as Simon posited, tossed out, suggested, kind of like a dead marsh style landscape. Maybe a bit drier though, which I know if it's got marsh in the name, then that's kind of, is that an oxymoron? But let's just, it's, we'll see. It's kind of desolate. And then I drew some, that's what I'm trying to avoid, Grumpy. Like it's not swamp time yet. So maybe it's just kind of like worn, torn and corrupted and scraggly with, see the trees that we did last time. So this is a normal tree and then this is a dead tree. So it'll transition into, yes, it's Rudolph. Of course it's Rudolph. Here we go. It's festive. So, smart ass. I love it though. I was like, it looks like something. What does it look like? And he said Rudolph. I'm like, there you go. All right. We drew Rudolph. So it's a festive zone. So anyways, this would be kind of the west side, and then Rudolph would be the as you head east. So dead trees and stuff. All right, so let's review what we discussed. Themes for the zone, right? So essentially it's a big zone. It's meant to make it so that you've got some good opportunity to traverse, right? Keeper's Bite's not a huge zone, to be honest with you. So imagine you're coming out of Evershade Weald. This is kind of like our Vale of Zintar traversal zone, because we've got a big Vale of Zintar down here, right? That you go from Keeper's Bite way through Vale of Zintar into Fallen Pass. You go in, take a left, hard left down the ramp, and then you're going to Shaded Dunes. So here we've got like a nice greeny version of that. And so some of the themes are, and we may have to winnow these down again, keeping the idea of like scope, and don't want it to be overly abundant like POIs and stuff like that. But here we go. Curses or magically discordant areas still linger after the war. So the Scarwood name comes from it's the area has been scarred. Now, unlike Fields of the Lost, the trees have grown back. There may be some spookiness in there, and there's some big scary stuff in there, but things have grown back, but it's still, you can still see a bit of the ravages of war. Resources, timber and mining. So it's a very natural area, right? Like it's got good resources in there. And maybe part of the reason why it's got resources in there is because if you're in there getting the resources, you're going to get stomped by, up here, NPCs, potential for big mobs, giants, forest giants, mountain giants, giant treants, dead treants, large drakes, green and black, giant wolves and bears, probably with a fancy giant wolf and bear name, probably like Dire or whatever is even bigger than Dire. And so that's why, you know, the resources are in there, but it's scary. Giants, Jamino, exactly. Extra dire, the direst wolf. Dread wolves, there we go. Any bugs? There may be some bugs. We've talked about some spiders. They're suggested up here. Trapdoor spiders were suggested. Insanity beetles. Well, okay. No one said insanity beetles, but they could have. Ultra dire. Robert Helsinki, what's going on, Robert? Insanity beetles. Do not lick those beetles. So, all right. So, continuing on the themes. An undead tree made of dead or rotten wood that counts as undead instead of plant. Do you think it should be undead? Mushroom men, maybe in an area, but we're going to be using those in so many other areas, and we'll see when we get up here. Like one of the exercises that we'll do today is we'll start to like, what happens if we start to place these around? Does it feel too cluttered? And you really can't tell until we also get the zone, which we're actually going to do. We'll do that. We're gonna like actually see this in 3D eventually. Chip said that's what'll make it interesting, not just the treant. I was not like arguing against. I was just making sure that you were for it. Rot druids that make rotten wood treants. I like rot druids. I just made an NPC for use somewhere else that's a sketchy druid. I called him a rat whisperer. So anyways, themes. Let's get through the themes here. The lake is flourishing, so we have a lake here. Is it a font of life? Probably. Or is it corrupted and it can't be used? Is there a spirit of the lake? And I'm reading, so if you guys are saying anything super, super cool, I'm probably missing it. I'm looking over it once in a while. It's funny now that you say it, we're talking about hallucinogenic mushrooms. I do think that we need some mushrooms that are hallucinogenic when you fight them. Though we've already got a whole thing down that way, in that vein, in that blight vein. Let's see. Factions fighting for control of the lake. I could also see factions fighting for control of the resources. Let's just put that on lake and / or resources. Corrupted can't use it. Spirit of the lake. Oh, that's what that meant. Corrupted entities can't use the lake was the intent of this when it was said. Fishing battles. That'll be a separate thing. Mountains or ridges breaking up the zone. So we've got those. There's some examples, but that's not the actual layout. Corrupted forest giants. What's corrupting them? Day and night differences, ghosts, etc. So ghosts from the previous battles maybe appear at night. Yep, right here, reenact battles at night. Official road and unofficial road. So we have one official road. It's a bit longer, and then we have the unofficial road that's a bit sketchier. Treant graveyard, petrified corpses, and it maybe is of interest to the loggers. And sapling graveyard, treants that failed to grow. That's kind of sad. All right, so those are the themes that we had. NPCs, read off most of them. There was a question about whether or not there should be a Shira here. Were they banished? Are they good? Sojourners, do they have a camp here? Are there poachers and bandits? Again, if it's a very resource heavy area, are there poachers out here hunting the ultra dire bears? Bandits, well, there's roads, so there's bound to be bandits, right? Orcs. And so are the orcs who are notorious for gathering slaves, are they working with the deep elves? Deep elven outposts and camps, golems, mountain-themed wisps, wood elves, trapdoor spiders, ghosts of wood elves and deep elves, and maybe even, at some point, old Califrayan elves. And then POIs that we've talked about so far, a lake, you see it, giant camp with a mine at the lake, deep elven outpost camps, poachers camp, sojourner camp, orc camp or outpost, deep elven logging camp, ruined elven resort at the lake, dried up old well, ghosts, golems, and giant mountain giants and drakes. I am using the program Excalidraw. We have found it to be really, really handy. It's cool. It's, you know, vector-based, so it's just like... And it's pretty cool. Like, once you draw something, of course, then you can edit it and all of that, so... Find it to be pretty handy. We've been using it more and more. Hey, Chinny. All right, so let me see if I can catch up on stuff that you guys were talking about. Defiant Possum said, what about spirits ghosts from an old war battle that are cursed to relive the war every night as a punishment for scarring the land? Yeah, so I think that kind of ties into what we've got here. Now, whether or not it's a punishment, that's an interesting idea. Let's save that for now. Let's go into... Marcy said, definitely be bandits on that official road, hiding behind dead trees or mountain pass. Ready to ambush, like those dang butcher block dwarf thieves. Maybe even a purposely down tree or rock slide to stop caravans. Interesting. So that's an interesting point of interest. If we go, say, bandits have a roadblock. Question mark. On main road. So of course you can use it, you just may have to fight through it. So anytime you're using the main road, you have to account that you're going to be fighting through it. So we've got rather than completely blow up this POI list, let's just assume, no, actually I think we may have to do that. That may be the easiest thing to do. Oops. Is the music too loud? People are going to let me know on the VOD. Like, you guys will sometimes not mention it, and then people on the VOD will be upset. Can barely hear it. Ratmen would be a nice faction to feature here. We can. One thing that we'll have to look at is, when we look at our final list, is the amount of reuse in different areas, and we have to think ahead to like some of the deep zones as well, just so that we're never reusing stuff so much that they kind of lose a bit of their novelty. But I could definitely see some, you know, I could definitely see some like Marhua Ratmen. Well, I guess I could see both, but maybe I would have it be like a smaller camp or something where they're out exploring. Will every zone have deep access? No. Not every zone. That way it can we can control flow and push people, you know, across and then down and things like that. Can you script bandits so the roadblocks may or may not appear in certain areas? Yeah, I think we could actually. We would just do that with probably a static, and yeah, we would spawn the NPCs and we would trigger the static to appear. For us, statics are objects in the world that are dynamic. So like even boats are statics, elevators are statics, doors are statics. If I missed something above, apologies. Is there an idea that someone who started in the deep could potentially hit max level without ever going to the surface? Yeah, you know, when we look at the zone map, especially the one we eventually want to get to, that should be feasible. Roadblock trees should be harvestable once you drive away the bandits and hear the lamentations of their women. That might be getting a little too fancy. Alright, so bandits have a roadblock on the main road, and I'll say dynamic. Cool. Alright, so one of the things that we can do really quick is let's move over, because like I was saying, part of this will then start to be like there's the and I'm forgetting the term for the official like term for the other part of it, but there's the ideation phase, and then there's like the winnowing down and like concentration. So we're in the ideation phase, right? Because we may find that some of these things, like once we start looking at it, we're like, nah, we don't want to jam all this in here, right? So it may be something like the Ashira. It's like, do we really need them in here? Like, is it part of the overall theme? But what we can start with is we could just give everything a number and start to distribute it and look, right? Like, all right, this kind of makes sense. Like it would be over here. You know, if it helps you visualize things, we can, you know, put little mountains and stuff like that in. Just imagine this is a whiteboard and we're just kind of going through really quickly. So we've got a lake, we've got the giant camp over here. Maybe move that even more kind of over here, give it a little bit more room. This is going to be a big zone, so it could be that this is actually a fair amount of room. Yeah, we don't need to jam everything in here. So 2, 3, so deep elven outposts and camps. I'm going to assume they're kind of on the east side here, right? But maybe not. What do you guys think? Hey, Hailsluker. So we're going to grab this guy, copy 3. Does that make sense? Do you think deep elves will probably be over in here? Is this heavily wooded and they've got a little outpost? And maybe there is a link down here. Like we can put it on here, and if we can't figure it out or if we can't make it work or whatever, or maybe there's a secret passage through the mountains, a different zone line here for the deep elves. So yeah, let's do that. You guys speak out if you're like, no, I don't want to do that. So we got deep elves over here, and we've got Orc Camp. Maybe they're collaborating. Maybe we put 3 and 6 together, right? So we look at that and we can group a little bit. Poachers? Maybe Poachers kind of same vibe, other side, again, heavily wooded or whatever. So Poachers are 4. Cool. Because they're probably staying away from the road, but it's still, they don't want to be too far out. They don't want to get murdered. All right. And there's giants down here. That's scary. We've got people traveling this road here. Sojourners, where would they go? Do they have a camp along the road? What we can do is we can go ahead and grab bandits because we've already talked about bandits. Bandits are 13. And you said, hey, let's put them on the safer road. Have some of the sojourners be captured by the orc elf camp. Oh, interesting. Well, that's an interesting, like, now we've already got like a built-in conflict here, right? So Avery says, have some of the sojourners be captured. So it's maybe not even a permanent camp. Maybe they're passing through. And who knows? Maybe all 3 of these guys are kind of working together. You got some scummy bandits, you got some orcs, and you got some deep elves over here. Maybe the safer road is safer because the rangers are patrolling. Oh, that's a fair point. I'm making the safe road unsafe right now because I'm not really paying attention, right? So honestly, the bandits would be up here. Because the safer road is down here. So you guys help me out. Where do you think the bandits would be? Would they be farther in here in the the eastern area, or sorry, the western area where we haven't gotten into the mountains and stuff yet? It was labeled safe road by the bandits to fool people. In the mountain nook between the 2 roads. Yeah, this is a top-down view, Tupac. Right, keep the mountains for the big guys. That's what I was wondering as well. So they wait for the tight pass at the nook. We can add more. They need to block the road Robin Hood style swinging down from the street. Yeah, we've got bandits have a roadblock on the main road, and maybe it's dynamic, Tupac. So somewhere in here we got bandits and we got poachers up in this area. We'll move the poachers up a little bit more. No worries. It's fine. A lot of that's the same as a lot of design meetings. People only half listening. Wallaby said trapdoor, Draconid, deep elf, aligned spider guarding. Well, that would be a new model, and so we can do trapdoor spiders, but we can't do Draconid type. We're trying to use existing assets as much as possible in this one. Have add a crudely drawn sign that says safe road and point it towards the bandit road down here. We could do that. That would be cute. Let's add that in as like a, we'll just have that in as like a random side note. We had a question here. Is there a shady location? Safe road sign from bandits. That's like some goblin bandit shit. The bandits are goblins. The S is backwards, of course. I was actually picturing it up on the mountain road, but I got the safe and unsafe roads mixed up. Yeah, I did too. I had it down here as like, oh, we're putting bandits down here. And I mean, this is supposed to be the safe road. Now, I mean, in theory, since it's like, if we're going to do dynamic, we could have it just pop up on the safe road. And it could be that sometimes you deal with the bandits, but sometimes the patrolling rangers deal with the bandits. So in theory, it is still open because we're talking about having this like mountain pass area be pretty sketchy. And we have things on the list that are like, we've got giants, so mountain giants. We've got, we had mentioned down here golems, like a mountain, like a stone golem. So you couldn't morph two models into one. Tsunami-san, the problem is, as much as I joke about just gluing two models together to make a new model, they'd have to have their own rigging, assuming we even like the way that it looks when you stick them on together, which, I mean, it's been done, right? We've seen it. But the big challenge then is we would wind up having to rig them and animate them, and that's really where I think we'd pick up the cost on something like a Drider. All right, so guys, I ask you again, do we keep the bandits here or do we move them down into this area? These are not loaded questions. Anytime I have an opinion on something, I'll just go forward with it. So when I'm asking a question like that, I'm actually seeing like, what are you guys into? No worries, Wallabus. Even if you had seen the first VOD, there are always the people on the team that will come at you with some new NPC models every single session. If you're out there first, hello. We love you. He will. First and Nicodemus. Love them some new models. Roadblocks on the safe road could be the orc slavers. I picture them raiding more than like setting up a roadblock. Flintlock Pixel. We can set it up so that it it can happen in one of several places if it's going to be dynamic. Maybe have the mountain giant outpost up on the mountain with a bridge that goes across to another mountain section. Oh, that's neat, right? So bridge. How are we going to portray a bridge? Let's do it like this. With a fill of this, and we'll do this. This is our bridge. Probably need some thinner lines. Cool. So somewhere in here, there's going to be like a. Oops. There's going to be like a gorge and a bridge. And I mean, we can even make a note, I guess. Okay. And we've mentioned giants now, right? So let's say, are they on here? Let's say, oops, we'll do 14 mountain giant bridge. Let's not put it on the bridge because it's making it, forcing it to be small. There we go. George the Troll under the Gorge Bridge. George of the Gorge. This software looks fantastic for prototyping. It's really been great for doing notes. I'm always scribbling notes down. You'll see on any one of these sheets what'll wind up happening is if I'm working during the day and like a screenshot comes in to Slack or something. And I've noticed more people on the team doing it, which is rad. Like it's so easy to just kind of like note something there and then do a quick screen snip and just paste it back in and communicate that way. A lot of times I'll have a bunch of like, I'll have a theme like this going and then I'll start working because I can only keep one of these open at once. I think I need to get like the paid version to be able to do more, and I really should pay for the paid version at this point. But then what I'll wind up doing is like I'll delete everything, save out the one thing as a thing, then Control Z, bring it up, delete the other stuff, and keep working. So, Quicksana said, "Do you have the ability to delay an NPC's aggro when we get in range and attack if we leave aggro range, such as demanding a toll payment?" We have an awareness range that we can use. So the Pale Guards in Night Harbor actually do this, but no one sees it. No one watches their chat. So the Pale Guards will be like, "Hey, do not come here." And they've got like, it's not just a say, it's like a medium or long say. So they're like, "Turn back or we'll kill you." And then people don't see it. And then they come forward and then they get killed. But we don't have the ability to like, I guess we could, there would be probably a hacky way to make it so that they aggro depending on what you do with them. There's always a hacky way to do something. John said people would see them if they had chat bubbles, just saying. Bleh. Enjoy your club, penguin. Let's see. What's this app you're using for making mock-up maps? It is Excalidraw. All right, so I might have missed something above. I think we're pretty good. So let's continue. We've got, so far we've made it down to 5. So is there a Sojourner camp here? Is there, have they just kind of like stopped? So it's like, it's not like a full-fledged big Sojourner camp. It is, let's say it's just a small, like they've stopped because they were coming the other route. They're coming from the east through here and they got bushwhacked by orcs. And so maybe they're somewhere, you know, around the lake or somewhere. Let's just put them over here and they're trying to like figure out what they're going to do. They need your help. So let's go with 5. And it's going to be, maybe it's down around here. All right, so 6, we've got 7, Deep Elven Logging Camp. Is that going to be separate or is that going to be in this cluster? Do we have it out here a little bit? Oops, why am I doing that? Yeah, the slaves are doing the logging for sure. Like the Deep Elves are not doing their own logging. That's just not what's going to be happening. So in theory, we could do 7 and 6 together, and then we could put more Deep Elves somewhere else, or we can keep them together. What do you guys think? Like having a forward operating base of some sort. Not even a base, just like a little, like some scouts. Little scout camp. While you guys are figuring that out, Deep elves would be the overseers, maybe high up in the mountain in that corner. So like some additional ones. Is there lore for the various deep races and their disdain for the brightness of the overworld? I would say it's less of, I mean, the disdain just comes from it's not there. It's like if I were to move you know, if I was to move someone from Finland to like West Texas during the summer. It's just not their, it's not their environment. Now, do they, I mean, and they just kind of, they have disdain. They just got it. They're just not, they got a permanent case of the grumpies. Are 6 and 7 working together? Yeah. 6 and 7 are working together. What if you did like a cave behind a waterfall at the lake to connect to whatever underground bits are in this zone? We were joking the other day, like I think the number of caves that we put behind waterfalls, I think it'll be a shock if somebody runs into a cave, into a waterfall without a cave. We could though. What underground are you thinking? 3's current location is cool. Maybe have it under the sea in Scarwood. The Last Man. Okay, so they're really out there. Like these deep elves are deep into the mountains. Maybe they're looking for something. Orcs are not ones to collaborate with others, with the exception of. So you'll see some orc collaboration with deep elves, potentially at times deep dwarves. Even more, they probably like deep dwarves a bit more than deep elves, to be honest with you. But don't mistake their collaboration with friendship. Doggeroni, I could see that. So. Themes. Let's throw another one on here. Deep Elven research or exploratory outpost camp. Anything at the bottom of the lake? A resort. There was a Califrayan elven resort. For those of you that aren't aware, I didn't mention this early on. The entire region here is considered Califray, especially on the surface, and that's because this entire region used to be a massive elven kingdom, right? Like our empire, and it was ruled by the. Is this the lake with a creature in it? If there was, I couldn't say it, right? That would be a surprise. Well, actually, in this stream, you guys get to define that, I guess. But so far, we have not discussed creature. We have just discussed a ruined, sunken, like, resort type thing. Yeah, similar to, like, Vexar in Lake of Ill-Omen. So, anyway, this whole area used to be the Califrayan Empire, and then there was a war between the elves, which divided them into 3 factions, and that's kind of how we arrive at where we are today with regards to the elves, through a number of hoops that they jump, or through some hoops that they jump through. That's weird through twice. So there was another thing about elvish hoops finally carved. Exactly. Perhaps a deep elf emissary entreating with the mountain giants, or are they too delicious to the giants? I don't know. That might be a thing. It could be that these mountain giants aren't super awesome, aren't super nice, and so there's some opportunity for the elves there. So let's throw it down here. Deep elves attempting to make a treaty with the giants. If there's a monster, we can name it Jason. Pepe Wizard, we cannot do that. We cannot do any pop culture references. This cannot be... Was it Silver Lake? Retorana says, maybe you can see them trying to use each other to their own benefits. One is guarding them, the other is handling the operations of the slave camp. Maybe there's some conflicts between them with wounded orcs and elves. There you can also see battle plans that are referring to other areas of the map or different map entirely. That's an interesting thing to like just sort of keep as something to use. Can find battle plans or info regarding operations in other zones. Orcs, elves. What if the lake had an underwater cave that leads to a secret air pocket full of myconids and gives access to the deep? So we can put it on here. That will probably be a thing that we won't do immediately because then we need a deep zone under here and some other stuff. But we can put it on as like maybe eventually kind of thing. We'll add it as a question, right? Like, whoops. Is there a cave for accessing the deep? Example, under the lake, air pocket, myconids. All right. Cool. So we've got logging camp, ruined elven resorts at the lake is 8. So we've got that here. That is 8. Dried up old well. Just find an interesting, mysterious dried up old well. We can put that pretty much anywhere. So we're not going to put the number on here yet, unless you just happen to have like you've got a burning desire to place the well somewhere. Let me know and we'll put it up there. All right, so now we've talked about ghosts, golems, mountain giants. I'm going to assume we've got 14. We're probably going to also do like, well, we could say this whole area here is 11 mountain giants. Let's go here, 11. You think the well should have a hidden mini dungeon? All right, Thadvik, we'll write it down. It won't be very hidden for you guys though, right? It'll be for anybody that didn't watch the stream or the VOD. That's who it'll be hidden for. It leads to a hidden mini dungeon. Oh yeah, if it's Quicksand, it'll be like keyed, obscure mud actions, everything. What if the well was the giant's well? Viper 494 is saying, what if it was the giant's well? Should it be a normal size well or a giant's well? I like the bucket ride idea. Okay. Did someone say bucket ride above there? Yeah, okay. Viper did. I started with Giant's Well, got excited, and then finished anything after the comma. So, Giant's Well, so the party can fit in a bucket that takes you down. That is freaking fantastic. Alright, dried up old. So, it's going to be... Should it be, now we've got a dried up old well that was suggested, and I'd hate to just get rid of it. We could add a second one. You know what, we'll do this. We'll just go on here. It's idea Darwinism. Without the dried up old well, we wouldn't have arrived at Giant's Well. Bucket ride. I love that. And here's the thing. If for whatever reason we didn't think that we'd want to put it, we can't find a place to put it in here. This is one of those ideas that you put in some other zone. Like we'd put it in a comment somewhere or whatever in Confluence, because bucket ride that's just very cool. Lisaba, the mysterious floating castle is not in Keeper's Bite. It is just below here in Vale of Zintar. What's up, Quatos? No worries. It leads to a mini dungeon bucket ride. Riding in the bucket. I was a teenager in the 90s, so riding in a bucket was different, but bucket. Well, bucket ride leads to the mini dungeon. Cool. Wallabies was asking, are the sojourners passing through or here on purpose? They were just passing through originally. Now, if we want to, we can add a purpose for them. But I was just picturing, you know, like, rather than add like more in here at the moment, for some reason this feels like it's already going to be dense. Like trying to add a fruit in or whatever. They were just kind of passing through. Maybe on their way to Keeper's Bite or something, and they got waylaid. And snatched up along this road, and the other sojourners are here at the slave camp. Okay, so let's go back to, let's get the POIs and the NPCs plotted on here, because what I think we're going to find is we're going to need to zoom in a bit, because we're going to find that this is pretty congested, right? So, and we'll probably want to define the areas a little bit more for the art guys. So let's go, we've gotten down to 10 ghosts. So let's assume that this area here is pretty well forested. Let's say, oops. And then we'll go. We'll make ourselves a janky little tree. Is this, should I be taking time to do this? Probably not, but like, we need a tree. All right, so that just to kind of help us keep track a little bit better of like the region, right? And then we can start to maybe, you know, look at like we can kind of maybe sort of get a feel for scale, but scale may be one of those things that we really just don't nail until we get to the next phase. And we just play around with. So again, let's go back in and like just kind of plop our stuff around to see where it all smears in, and that'll help us define scale a little bit, because if we really like, hey, we want to keep all this, then we may, you know, we may actually make sure that we've got enough scale there so we can fit it all in. I don't know exactly how everybody was picturing the mountain passes. For some reason, I kept thinking it was like a little bit more, maybe less trees and stuff. You know, mountains aren't necessarily like it. I guess it could go either way, right? But so what we've got now is like the southern half of the map is a lot. It's dense forest, big trees. This is a pretty big area. Then it's going to be really, the focus will be on the more mountain theme, but naturally we'll have some trees here and there throughout the mountain area. And so then the reason why I'm mentioning that is like, so picture just using these colors like to help you kind of picture like gray is mountains, and you know the green sort of like more fields and trees, and that's the focus. We could probably even slip in a stream here and there or whatever. This bridge is kind of big, so I think it maybe throws us in terms of like thinking of scale. But we just want to make sure that there is a bridge there and that there are bridge giants. Maybe the mountain area has kind of an Appalachian vibe. Let's do that with regards to reference then. So let's say reference. We'll just do ref. Now we'll go. And here we've got, this is Fields of the Lost. I guess I can scale that back up, huh? Dash east side. So kind of, we may find that we don't have this theme in here at all. Remember, like we said, this sort of like 20% over here would be more Fields of the Lost, but we're running out of room. So really it would just maybe be like in this area, if anywhere, like where you're starting to hit the zone line and transition into Fields of the Lost. So if we take this and go, I'll group that. How do we make these guys look all dead and crappy and bleh? Is there an easy way for us to kind of... Like, how do we best represent this? Yeah, I think that'll work. sometimes fixate on stuff that really doesn't matter, but it's hard not to fixate on it. Oops. Do Field of Lost trees provide charcoal when harvesting them? Oh, that's an interesting question, right? And probably not wood. That's why the elves have to come all the way over here. Probably nothing good. They're corrupted and gross and stuff. All right. So we've got this now. Let's get back on it. Oh yeah, I never wrote down Appalachian vibe. Sorry about that, Chinny. Eight. And then we go back to white. Forest has a Appalachian vibe, and then we can grab some reference for that. Does that mean there are hillbillies making moonshine in the mountains, in the hollers? Dark Inside says, I'm eating sausage on a bun with veggies for a side for dinner. Nice. What veggies? All right, so, and we may have ourselves a potentially maybe there's a secret passage here. Maybe not. Careful on the Fallout 76 references too. Oh no, I don't want to get in trouble here. We'll move it around so that we don't get busted. It's already dangerous enough out there. All right, so the reason why I even hit all these trees and shit is because we were talking about ghosts and drakes. Remember we said there's like green drakes and black drakes. I would say let's distinguish between the drakes. Drakes, green, and then for 15 we'll go 15 drakes, black, or some other color, but something that's distinct. So now we're down to ghosts 10. I would say we're probably looking at like probably popping off in here at night. Not the awful Canadian rapper. I actually know the reference barely. I barely remember it, but yeah. So ghosts may happen, but maybe we move them a little bit more up to here to kind of help convey that theme. You can't mention Appalachia and 76 together, or you summon the Mothman and maybe their lawyer. I watched something on the Mothman. Maybe it was Mothman Prophecies or something. I watched something on the Mothman once, and it was back in the day, and it creeped me out a fair bit. I don't know why it got to me so much. So in this general region, bring in the dead trees more, less Scarwood, more slightly grazed wood at the moment. So you eat this area up a little bit more with dead trees. All right, I think that's fair. Oh gosh, they're too big. Yeah, it was original. So first in the last VOD, we actually had it marked here. It was like there's a 20% line, kind of a mark. So we'll take this here, copy, paste, and we'll put it here, and we'll say secret deep passage ? All right, so we've got green drakes, big ass green drakes. We're gonna do 12 here. This is a safe road. 12, but they'll be in the wood line mostly. We also want to make a note because we did say one of the themes was rangers patrolling the road. The safe road ? Does the corruption spread and show that some occasionally mixing of tree types till it's all dead live? I think that's an interesting thing to see if we can pull off a little bit in the transition areas. Do we have something here? You know what? Just in case, because it never hurts to have too many or have more notes, we'll say corruption from east to west spreading, seen in trees. Undead, ghost, tree folks at night. Could probably fit some other adjectives in there as well. Hegosaurus, that'll be when we get to the implementation phase. Right now we're just getting this set up. Maybe we'll hand this off to Bill if he's got time, and he can work up one of his pretty maps for us based on this. And then what we'll do is we'll see if Bjorn would be nice enough to do a nice little mesh for us using his process he's got there, and then we'll come in and we'll prop it and do some other stuff. So. Ghost Treant sounds awesome. Ghost Treant does actually sound awesome. We have Undead Treant that we meant to write in here earlier. So, Undead Treant from Chip. And Undead and Ghosts. I like it. Alright, so let's talk about these guys, because they've got to fit in somewhere. Um, 15 for the... let's see, 15 for the Black Drakes, I think. And then we're caught up. Though I kind of like that dot. So just, again, this is... Nope. Well, I'm not going to be able to do a moon worth of shit, so... You get the idea. Boom, 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 boom. 15 is what we were looking for, because that is the drakes, and we've got room up here. $14 was... okay. 15 here. Big dots? That would work, right? Also, a scribble would work. Not like that though. So the POIs, they're not really, some of them are POIs and some of them is basically, it's a mix of terms first, because essentially it was just meant to kind of start helping us figure out what of these NPCs will actually start to fit in here. So what's like the theme that you might see? I think we can also have overlap. Like, so here we have 12, which is drakes. But you know what I would add to this? Probably is I would just say, like, let's make it multiple NPCs here. So because that's how we're probably going to set it up. So it'll be drakes, treants, and then giant critters, because we've got giant wolves, giant bears, right? So kind of have a mix in there. And then that can distinguish themselves from, yeah, giant bats can be in there as well. Do we not have that listed? Giant wolves, bears, bats, the direst of bats. Do we want to go ahead and just make a call and say no Ashira? Let's start cutting some stuff now if we think, eh. Can I get it second? This is super far away from Ashira area, Quatos. It was kind of thrown in when we were just like super brainstorming. All right, so we got a second on that. Everything else has made its way in. The only thing we don't have in here so far are trapdoor spiders, ratmen, wisps, golems. I would probably put up here with, we've got, in the mountains, we've got black drakes. Let's go ahead and say maybe golems there, if we're going to put them anywhere, mountain golems. And then we can add more to it. So essentially it's that like NPC mix that you see like in a random water volume or wander volume, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. Well, none of our travel zones are ever really likely to be like just travel, right? Because we want you to actually use it, but it's longer, it is simpler. Like we're probably not going to invest anything in like blowing out even this like ruined palace area. It's just going to be ruins that we already have. Where does 9 go? That's a good question. 9 is where are the giants? So we've got some giants here at the gorge. Is there a giant camp up here? I mean, and is this gorge kind of like this setup? Would it well be lower elevation? Honestly, the closer you can get to the water, the better, right? You don't want to have to dig it too deep. So, I mean, we could have this be like split level, and then we could have the bridge giants up here, and they could have some buddies that are down there, right? Anything up in the mountains? So far, drakes, giants, stone golems potentially. So let's just mark and then we've got some forest giants down here. Maybe it's the forest. Well, they've got, why would they have a well? They've got a lake right there. Well, maybe they're not really on the lake. Maybe they got like a nice little setup here, a little encampment, and they've got a well, so they don't have to walk over to the lake. Would love to be able to make the drakes roam aerially over that road. Oh, what do you mean? Oh, that's a good one. Let's just do it. Sometimes things don't have to make a 1000% sense. And that'd be an interesting connection point. I like that, John. So, and we'll put it in here. Leads to a hidden dungeon, which connects to the lake. They fly over the road instead of coming down the mountain and hovering a few feet above ground. Oh, yeah. I wish there was a easier. First has hacked some stuff in the past. So we've talked about this in the past. And that's how you get out of the well. You got to swim through the lake. So we're going to put the well 9. We're going to put it here. We got a giant camp. And maybe it's got a mine. Maybe it's got a mine and a well. All right. There's... Ollie did not like my hacks, first said. The best way sometimes to motivate a programmer to add a new feature is to hack the shit out of it until they're just like, you've got to stop doing this because it's destroying everything. Zilla said, I need that nav tech for some water stuff too. Oh, nice. All right. Well, I mean, if you wind up getting it for both, that'd be pretty fantastic. Because I was trying to figure out some ways. Like I was actually prototyping a dragon flying around over zones by just using a boat up in the air, because the boat paths, it's not like it just follows the path. It's not like making it drop down to collision or whatever. Hey, congrats, Dark Inside. See, the dragon, that's a prop that never comes down. It actually did come down, though. What it would be is, because we can trigger events when, essentially a static is at a certain point, like the boat system. So it would come down, and then it would quickly, because they don't depop, it would zip under the ground and spawn a dragon. So... Viper said, maybe if the well leads to a dungeon, the key to enter is something you need to use to lower the bucket down. Oh, interesting. The key to all of this is the, I'm just going to call it well lever. Let's see if I missed anything. With a bridge that large, is it stone or less permanent structure like suspension bridge held together with vine? I was just picturing kind of one of our generic wooden bridges. Again, like trying to reuse assets and stuff. Tite said, would the ruined elven resort have corrupted butterflies, bees, various plant type creatures, insects near the water? There might be some different insects and stuff. I don't know. The water is not corrupted so far. We've said it's actually kind of the opposite. The water is like really good, but we could potentially have some, like, our only insects right now are wasps, and they're not, I mean, let's just use insect loosely, folks. Wasp, spider, beetles. Should it have water elementals? It can. 8. We can say water elementals at the lake. /font. Maybe a few megabugs. Cool. Get some water skipper bug models created. So on that note, since we're working on this together, one thing to keep in mind is with some of these zones, what you're going to see is as we move through early access, say, Ty, in all seriousness, say we make a water skipper bug for like a different lake out east, like in Terralon, or we have like a deep style water skipper that we create for a deep zone. Once we have that asset, we can come back in. It's completely fair in our mind to come back in and retrofit NPCs, mobs, etc. Right? So let me make sure it's still looping. So you will see during especially during early access, and then even in the life of the game, you'll see us update zones, especially as like new models come online, new variations come online. And sometimes we'll just be like, you know what, this content's not really been hitting. People aren't like, they haven't really used it. It's not great or whatever. Let's just, replace it wholesale. But in a case we're replacing it wholesale, we're going to be pretty careful, and we're going to, look and see, like, is it true that no one's using it, blah, blah, blah. So like I did a few of those when I was on the EQ team with the guys. Like we did the Chardock revamp, we did Kazakh Thul revamp. Chardock I think was better received than Kazakh Thul. We did TOV revamp, I thought, at some point. And so, or at least something in TOV. So it's very possible for us to oh God, what if people don't use my zones? It's probably not a you thing. It'll be a thing where we look at it and we figure out why. Is it because the pathing is just really bad in there, and can it be fixed? Is it a question of the content? Did we make a zone where every mob is like if it's not a Shadow Knight, it's a shaman, and there's no loot in it. So that's not really your fault. That's where you'll probably start to get testy with the designers. Don't laugh about the shaman Shadow Knight zone, because that was another zone that got touched up. There was a Luckland zone that we eventually touched up. How advanced is your telemetry to know if camps, POIs are getting used? We've got more than enough data. Really, right now, it's a matter of us creating tools that allow us to see issues more proactively, as opposed to once we identify an issue, it's easy for us to go back and dig through the data. And there's like, we have a fantastic, we have so much, we're doing so much tracking that I'm actually like, at times with some of it, I know that we're only keeping the data for X amount of time, but I'm just like, man, that's a lot of data. Like, how are we going to manage that? But Swanee has been doing a fantastic job of enabling us to track and find more and more. And then what we want to do is, there have been discussions of like heat mapping, and there's, the ability for us to eventually get some automation where if things look hinky, or, or potentially if things aren't being done, then we kind of, it draws our attention, like, this mob has never been killed. Oh, wow. Okay, so why not? Oh, because it's not spawning. That type of shit. So there may be some stuff that we can do. That is too much information, Swanee. So 15 is up there. 3 is an interesting one. Deals are being made, maybe. And the deals are being made with golems, mountain giants. I would actually, we have golems with the drake, so we'll just say mountain giant camp is 11. I mean, it could also be like here or something. Cool. So, Biggs, I don't know. That's a good question to ask. I have very little insight into that. Could the camp be a little cave system, like an overworld mini dungeon? I mean, it could be. It could be. We could see again because it may not be very hard for us to throw some caves in there. So, let's say camp. We'll make a note on it. Camp. Cave. Cave. We'll even say simple cave system. And it's giant, right? So cool. So 12, we've got the drakes, treants. And so, you know what'd be cool? We've got the undead and ghost treants. And that will work with our theme, right? So we pull this on here. That can spread as far as it needs to spread, but we're going to do a quick 16 as well. And that'll be kind of in this transition area. 16. Now, keep in mind, we don't have to figure all of this out right here. Like, we've done a fantastic job. We've gone for maybe, what, I would say, what, like 3-4 hours if you look at both VODs. And we've gotten ourselves, you know, this has been, I think, a fairly productive design meeting. Did we winnow out the stuff here? Wisps. If we still want wisps, we can always toss them into here. 12. 12 is drakes, treants, and stuff. Yeah, we'll do that, and we'll add in wisps. Because what's going to wind up happening is we don't have the trapdoor spiders anywhere. Do we need them? I imagine wisps go with the ghosts. I think that's fair, actually. I think that's a very good call. I love when wisps go with ghosts, like the kind of Deadlights style twist on them. So, undead, treants, ghost treants. And then we've got the ghosts up here. Ghosts and wisps. I mean, they can also go with the ghost treants, right? Cool. Thank you. Thank you, Thadvik. All right, so. Cool thing is the scales here. And then we'll have to get some mountain stuff. Yeah, so basically in the few hours that we've worked together, we've been able to sort of cobble this together. And what we're doing here now is we're getting into some of the details, but like we don't typically have to figure out every single like mob that's going to appear where and all of this stuff until we start to get in and actually look at the scale, get a feel for the zone, start to get things built out. And what will wind up happening a lot of the times, at least in my experience, and every team's going to do this differently, but in my experience, what winds up happening is because different people read and sort of visualize things in different ways, what winds up happening is one of the fun things that happens is when you're collaborating with the artists and as a designer, you can present a lot of this stuff to them and they may see it even here. They will start to have ideas and like different takes on it and like, oh, what if? And it's really important that they have the agency to be able to like make those tweaks. And so it's important to have a really good relationship between like the designers and artists. And I've seen it on teams where the various teams have been antagonistic and should just it gets goofy, like really, really bad goofy. And on the flip side, I've seen teams where, and I think our team really excels at this, through virtue of both patience and maybe the pace that we keep, since our pace isn't like ultra hardcore, you know, like everybody's in an office 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours a week, where it's like, oh shit, you're holding me up. And, the schedule is such where it's like, it's very, very tight deadline driven. And so it's, oh, we don't have time for mistakes. And like, oh, you want to change that? Now I'm stressed because your change is like fucking up my schedule and all that stuff, right? Like, so we, I believe, I don't know, I hope what I perceive is true on the team, that like generally the team gets along well, even if we don't always agree with each other or whatever. The the team like really shares a lot of ideas, and there'll be times like we saw it even today where it's like, got something in my head, put it forward, and the team's like, hey, but what about this? What about that? And you're like, ah, shit, actually, that's a really good point. All right, let's take that. We'll go back and rethink that. Idea 1 works. Idea 2 is not working. Okay. And so I think having an environment like that allows you then to pass this type of work through multiple filters. And in theory, those filters will help like build details and build ideas, and it'd be like, oh, I added this thing. Why'd you add the thing? Oh, I don't know, man. I was just really feeling it. Cool. Let's work with it. Right. And the other thing for us that I think is important, like just especially with making MMOs, is putting in a lot of like, this is something where, I've gone back and forth with different people. Some people are very much like the Chekhov's gun style. If it is in, it needs to have a 100% like fully fleshed out narrative reason for existing. Whereas like I'm more of the like, let's sprinkle in all sorts of interesting shit, even if we don't know 100% what it's going to do yet, because over time it may take on a life of its own. You guys in the community may go like, oh man, I think this does that. And then we can be like, oh shit, that's a really cool idea. And we can like integrate that, right? And we kind of build the story together. Or while we're in there, like I throw it in and then somebody else sees it and like, oh, what is that? Is that this? And I'm like, no, but that's actually a cool idea. Why don't you mess with that, right? Like, and so, and it may be a thing that you come back to, we do have things in our zones already that we're thinking like, hey, a couple years after 1.0, this may be the entrance to a specific zone, right? And so it's not to say that we haven't figured out like how something may fit into lore in that case, but we haven't sat down and designed that entire dungeon and stuff yet, but we know who lived there and we know when they got there and stuff. So it's just kind of a mix. Anyways, the reason why I mention all of that is because I think we're hitting a point where we can do what we do next when we have the opportunity. We don't always do this, but like we could take this, and I would say something like Shallow Shoals started from kind of more of an approach like this, where honestly we mainly use like circles, right? We were like, kind of we were grabbing islands as circles, and we kind of put them out, and we looked at distribution, we looked at the flow through. For Shallow Shoals, if I remember correctly, Bilth, who's working on Fail and Draw and Evershade Wield, came up with like, hey, what about this map? And like had like a cool, I think we had circles first, and then he did like a layout and kind of distributed them. And then we took that and we like moved some stuff around and fleshed it out even more. And then we handed that over to build like the initial sort of like, I don't know what the correct term would be, but like a simple displacement map or whatever. That's just kind of like, all right, here's the islands and terrain. And then you just iterate in that way. So here, what we want to do is, as part of the process, because it would be fun, is like basically a block out, like sort of gray boxing. And every zone may be done in a slightly different way. But what we're going to do here is we're going to give this to Nicodemus, Bill here, if he's still in here. I know he's probably at work right now. But what we'll do is we'll take this and we'll kick it over to Nicodemus, and we'll talk about like, hey, here's the stuff here. We have a good idea of what's going on, and he can make one of his like really awesome hand sketch maps out of this, and then from there we can take it and run it through and build out like the base sort of block out map. And then we'll run in and we'll look at the scale together, and we'll talk about the scale, and we'll get your impression of like the scale. And then we can talk a little bit about how we approach determining like what is the right scale, right? And a lot of it's based on feel and referencing other zones. But the thing that I typically do is I get in with like a literal stopwatch. You know, these days, when I was at Sony, when I was on EverQuest, that was like before smartphones. And so I had like an actual stopwatch. But now you can just use, you know, like a web app or whatever. And we'll get in and we'll run it. We'll run the areas without speed rate enhancement. We'll run it with, now that we have mounts in. Even though, like, you know, our SAO is the fastest move speed, but still you maybe want to get a feel for like, what does it feel like on a mount? Like if we're going up, you know, in different areas, does it feel more constrained? Do we have the headroom that we need? Things of that nature. So that'll be the next thing that we do. And, well, that will be the thing that we do once we get the actual map. But for now, this feels like, it feels like we've got our bases pretty covered. What do you guys think? And I'll catch up. Tsunami-san said, are you considering dungeons that are catered to certain damage types, like Wormsbane is undead, but others have like animals, elementals, and other types? Yeah, we'll have to look at that and make sure that we are providing a nice balance. Nick was bringing that up last month, you know, kind of looking at like our mob distribution in general. It's like, hey, we're not really using elementals in a lot of areas. And what about the thing that we'll have to find is we'll have to find a balance across the board, but it's also nice to try to find a mix when you can, you know, where it makes sense, kind of in the same environments as well. That's always nice, but thematically it's difficult sometimes. That way it's not like, you know, people are like, oh, I hate to go there because I'm a druid, you know, and it's just undead, or, oh, you know, like, I'd rather take my paladin and my cleric, you know, over to this other zone. I don't really want to go here because it's all animals, that type of shit. Are we going to prevent animals from running around the outskirts of his zone to avoid all danger? You know, zone skirting is just kind of like one of those interesting cheats that I like, actually. But even this camp, like, what is if this is a deep elf camp and it's right here, kind of what does that remind you of? If you're running along a zone and all of a sudden you run into a deep elf camp, you've done that before if you've played like EQ, I think. Yeah, that said Elfe, right? Like there's that, you know, Kithakor. Is there one? Is there a camp in Kith of Ds? Definitely Elfe I'm thinking of. Kith for sure. I'm trying to remember. So there's the Shylock Pack Orc. There's D camp is for the Rogue Epic. Okay. Yeah, I'm completely spacing on it for some reason. Cool. The last time I was in there, I was just in there with my cleric at night most of the times. It's funny now that you mentioned the Royals. Let me look at the map, actually. I would not have... I don't think I would have found it on... Well, maybe if there's other reference. If we're doing EQ Guesser, I would have blown that one. So, P99... Just because I'm like... feel guilty. Royals. 12? Okay, let's try that. 3, 4. Call it the number. 7's ranger. Nine. Ruined hut. Okay, that would make sense then. Cool. Yeah, not that it was important. It was just really like picking at my brain. It was like one of those weird things. Hey, Nerdy Squid. The Dark Elves in Kith. I'd totally forgotten about them. Escool says, I have a newbie question, but does the current build of M&M have other areas other than desert vistas? Yes. We have, we've got a Wood Elf city that's being built right now within a zone called Evershade Weald. And it is pretty green. And then we've got Keeper's Bite, which is also a continuation of like that green temperate theme. And that's all. So the desert is the Zur region. And then above that is the Califrey region. Yeah, so again, I think we're at a good, it is on the same continent. Yep. You run through the deserts north and then you get there. And Deep Dunes does qualify as a different theme, right? That's one of our deep zones. So it's, you know, very, why am I spacing on the words first? It's very Underdark kind of. Cool. So I think we're at a good stopping point for this process. I think this is coming along. Are you guys still enjoying the process? Like, do you feel like this is beneficial beyond like just kind of being fun that you're involved? Like, is there anything kind of helpful or new here? And just kind of like the approach, because to me this is just, I've done this kind of in this way, like whiteboards and different stuff with teams for, I mean, like, not to sound, you know, like, oh, so long or whatever, but like this is how I got my job as you know, like a assistant lead and then a lead on the EQ team. Was just, I always felt comfortable being the guy that, like, I'll get the marker and I'll get on the whiteboard and let's just kind of like, what do you got? What do you got? And so that's the process. If you're like, oh, it seems so simple, or this is how I do maps at home or whatever, that's awesome. Then you're doing it the way that I've seen it done across every team that I've been on, at every company, is essentially this type of process. And a lot of like what we're doing is we're doing ideation and coming up with a bunch of stuff. Like, we still have trapdoor spiders on here. We still have ratmen on here. Before we leave here, let's go ahead and make a call on both of those. Since they're still on the list and we're on the topic, I think we come up with a bunch of ideas, we tighten it up, we try to make the themes as cohesive as possible, we try to have clearly defined like sub themes and areas, if possible, and then that helps drive, you know, Nixon. The slaves will come with the slavers. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna cut these guys and these guys. And the cool thing is, anything that we cut from a zone is actually cool, right? Because if you come up with a cool idea and you're like, deep elf spider pets may be a possibility. Let's note it just because we haven't done a lot with deep elves yet. So this is our random notes. DE spider pets. Cool. I know First is very wary of spiders and D's together, but I like the tropes Not to put words in your mouth first, but so folks said a lot of fun. It's awesome. Personally, for what I do for the project, this is very helpful. Cool, Kat. Yeah, and those of you that don't know, I need to make you a mod. So, let's see, because did I make him? I made him a mod, right? Don't do anything crazy with it, or Nick will get you. Yeah, those of you who don't know, Cod is one of our new environment artists. He's actually working on a really cool dungeon right now. I did make him a mod. He's got a sword. Let's see. Will there be where would the Lizardkin city connect to this, since it is indeed it is out east. Well, I guess I can disclose. Have we disclosed what dungeon he's working on? Have we mentioned the name yet? I thought we had mentioned the name at some point. Yeah. So he's working on Rothold. Since Amnesiac said it, then that means we said it. Yeah, I think I mentioned it in the past. And then I think first popped in was like spoilers. But yeah, so I think we cleaned that up now. We're good there. We're good here. We're good to hand this over to Bill. Yeah, so if oh, it was mentioned in the last update. Awesome. I thought it was mentioned somewhere. Hey, Telsmere. Yeah, so cool. This is essentially how we do it. And I think that's honestly one of the things that sometimes is challenging with teams that maybe haven't haven't done a lot of stuff together, or newer teams or whatever. Like occasionally it's just good to like provide a reminder. One of the benefits of experience is actually just saying, hey, this thing that you're seeing, it's pretty normal. It's not crazy. There's no like super secret that we don't possess. We're completely capable of being successful based on the actions that we're taking right now, right? So, and this is the zone design part of it. And like I said in the previous VOD, it happens in all different ways. We've had people like Simon come in and just be like, hey, I've got this map that I drew and I really like it. I mean, he's an environment artist, and it's like, okay, do you want to use that and build that as X? Go ahead, right? And there's, then we can go in and sort of talk about like what the points of interest are, or anything needs to be adjusted or added. There's sometimes where, it's a bit looser than this. And yeah, so it varies, but typically it's kind of in the same ballpark. Thanks, Bill. And Bill, we'll wind up getting this over to you, and then what we'll do is, before we let Nicodemus do a full color map, we'll have him do like a simple pencil sketch, and that way we can look at it, and if we're agreed, then he can color it in, but we'll have that pencil sketch. Or I mean at this point we've got enough. No, it needs to be a pencil sketch, because I 100% know that Nicodemus will add stuff. He'll add flourishes, and we'll have to look at that and go, all right, is that the, do we want to run with that? Is there any additional complexity that's been added? And that'll be that. So let's see, what else is there? It's 10:30 now. Oh, just a heads up, and this is something, if Bill's got time basically between now and next Tuesday, then we'll have it available to look at, like maybe next Tuesday. And I'm going to be gone essentially Thursday morning through like Sunday afternoon. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, got a really big airsoft thing this weekend. It's like 3,000 or 4,000 plus people at this really cool location. So it's gonna be interesting. Hopefully Jasmine and I have fun with it. Hopefully it's not too many people. And so yeah, it's pretty crazy. So this will be our first one of these, but we went last fall to the same location. It's this big, it's a former like Soviet air base that's been decommissioned, and now they've turned it into this really cool setup. We were there last fall for something called OP Chernobyl, which is essentially like it's like a Stalker, like the game Stalker meets like airsoft kind of LARP thing. So it's airsoft and shooting, but it's also there's scientists and mutants, and we were bandits and stuff. So don't come back with an eye patch. Don't jinx me, dude. I've been thinking about that for whatever reason. That's been on my mind. Watch, that'll be the thing that gets me. So as long as I only come back with one eye patch, it'll be okay, I guess. But yeah, so you guys, I'm going to wrap up here now. I want to thank everybody for being super cool and easy to work with on this, and I want you guys to have a great weekend. And I will wind up seeing you guys on Tuesday if we're lucky. Yeah, I don't think the server is going to be on this weekend, but it'll be cool when we can get you a we're talking about a basically a 2025 schedule for the rest of the year in terms of tests, and we're going to try to get you some information on that. So, and those of you guys watching the VODs, as you saw, I grabbed relevant comments and brought them in. So if you've got comments, I'll snip them and then we'll bring them into the next process. So all right. Quicksonnet, you are welcome. Thanks for participating in the process. Mr. Green, you're very welcome. Thanks, Thadvik. See you, Dark Inside. That's the best pizza, Blue Knight. Thank you. Later, Keith. Tsunami-san, have a good one. Arthix. Yep, we're going to try to get that out there. Amnesiac. See ya. Thanks. Later, Nomer. Cod. Thank you, buddy. See ya, Bill. I'll follow up with you in Slack about this. See ya, Nervewrecked. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us, Chinny. Spoff, thank you. Simon. See ya, buddy. Thanks for the follow, Spoff. Good night first. And Doggeroni. In Viper. Good stuff. Thanks for the contributions. Pretend you're playing a real-life MMO FPS this weekend? Absolutely. It's going to be so good. Good night, Swanee. Is that everybody? If that's everybody, we'll get ready to push the button then. Cool, man. You guys have a great weekend. I'm going to push the button now. Thanks, Tithe.